Ingo Swann, a man whose life was a blend of the extraordinary and the mysterious, released his book, Penetration, in 1998. In it, he claimed to be a psychic employed by the CIA to remote view the dark side of the moon, a mission that sounded like science fiction but was eerily real. But what makes this story even more compelling is that in 2006, when the CIA started releasing documents on the Stargate project, Swann's participation was confirmed, opening a Pandora's box of secrets and questions. When Ingo Swann was a child, his family noticed he had psychic potential. As he grew older, he delved deeper into this talent, volunteering for experiments in ESP. Researchers tested him to see if he could influence plants with mental activity or alter the temperature of an environment using his mind, which he did with some success. Swann's success caught the attention of more and more scientists, setting the stage for his future involvement in some of the most secretive and intriguing projects of the 20th century. In 1973, Ingo Swann was asked to project his consciousness to the planet Jupiter, a task he initially rejected. He valued his reputation and only wanted to remote view places that could be confirmed. However, the researchers at SRI convinced him by explaining that NASA had probes on the way to Jupiter, making this an opportunity for real-time verification. Swann agreed and made several observations about Jupiter that the Pioneer probes later confirmed: a hydrogen mantle, rotating storms like cyclones, high infrared readings, and the colors of the clouds and ice crystals in the atmosphere. But here's where it gets fascinating. Swann described seeing rings around Jupiter, something that was not known at the time. It wasn't until Voyager 1 passed by Jupiter in 1979 that these rings were confirmed, and later photographed by the New Horizons mission in 2007. This discovery was a turning point, not just for Swann but for the entire field of remote viewing. In March 1975, Ingo Swann received a mysterious call at 3 o'clock in the morning. He was instructed to go to the Museum of Natural History in Washington, where he would meet a military-looking man near the elephant in the central rotunda at noon. This was just the beginning of a clandestine journey. Swann was handed a series of cards with cryptic instructions, eventually leading him to a secretive meeting with Mr. Axelrod and two men he called the Twins. The next morning, Axelrod informed Swann that he would be remote viewing the moon. Given a list of coordinates, Swann went through them one by one, viewing large cliffs, craters, and dunes of white powder. But then, he saw something that defied all logic. Tracks on the surface that looked like they were made by tractors or machinery, and patterns that seemed to be made by wind, despite the moon's lack of atmosphere. He sensed an atmosphere and observed a crater filled with a green haze, emitting diffused light, a phenomenon that shouldn't be possible on the moon. As Swann delved deeper, he described large structures that looked like airfields, roads, towers, and machinery. He saw bridges and perfectly round holes cut into the rocks, evidence of industrial activity. Inside domed structures, he observed humanoid figures and an eerie green glow. This was more than just a remote viewing exercise, it was a glimpse into a secret world that challenged everything we thought we knew about the moon. A few days later, Swann was approached by Axelrod again, this time with an offer to see something extraordinary. "Have you ever seen a UFO?" Axelrod asked, leading Swann on a journey to an undisclosed location. They flew north, assumed to be Alaska, and eventually found themselves at the edge of a lake in the dead of night. Here, they witnessed a triangle-shaped craft emerging from the fog, emitting a pulsing hum and shooting beams of light that seemed to destroy the surrounding environment. Ingo Swann kept his word and remained silent about these events for years. When he finally published his account in Penetration, it sparked a wave of curiosity and skepticism. The question remains: how much of this story is true? Was Swann's experience real, or was it a product of his vivid imagination? If you don't believe in remote viewing, then it's easy to dismiss Swann's story as mere fantasy. But if you do believe, as the US government did during the Stargate project, then Swann's revelations could be the most significant discovery in human history. Proof that we are not alone in the universe. The CIA's involvement and the subsequent release of documents under the Freedom of Information Act add a layer of credibility to Swann's claims. However, the lack of concrete evidence and the dismissal of many reports as interference or misinterpretation leave us with more questions than answers. The story of Ingo Swann is one of those rare tales that make you reevaluate everything you've been taught. It's a story that challenges your perceptions and invites you to question every truth you've come to believe. Whether you find it believable or not, it's a narrative that captures the imagination and sparks curiosity. So, the next time you look up at the moon, remember Ingo Swann's extraordinary journey and the secrets he uncovered. The truth, whether fantastic or mundane, is out there waiting to be discovered. Until next time, be safe, be kind to one another, and never be afraid to ask questions.